Hello everyone and welcome back to High Stakes Monday. That's right, we're playing some $5, $10 no limit Texas Hold'em on ultimatepoker.com. Hope you had a lovely weekend. I sure did. We will get to that in a moment. Looks like I'm going to be calling here. Don't really think there's anything else that makes a lot of sense. We're on a set mining expedition, kind of, sort of. Sometimes we win without making a set, I think. Don't really know these opponents over here. They all kind of look familiar to me, but I don't really have any particular memory. And then obviously we know Will from half the videos we've played recently. I feel like Will's been in them. We've got position this time, though, so we'll see how that works out for us. Our nurse friend deep in the tank. Decides to let it go. So close to a set, but not quite. If our opponent bets, I believe we will call. We have 3 straight, 3 flush. Deuces could be the best hand right now. Don't love it, of course, but I can't imagine folding is the right thing to do. Let's see a turn card, dealer. Don't really think, let me look at this price we have. He could have so many things we beat. I think calling makes definitely the most sense. Queen not the best turn card for us, of course. If our opponent checks, we have a decision to make. If our opponent bets, I believe we probably will just fold, not knowing much about our opponent at this point. We could definitely be getting bluffed here by a hand like ace-king. Maybe a hand as bad as like ace-10, or it could be as bad as like, could be anything, obviously. He could have 8-9 offsuit here. But I think we can comfortably fold without knowing much about our opponent at this point. Do I love it? I don't love it, but I think that probably makes sense to just fold on the turn. So, I had a lovely little weekend. Our 2 run-it-up warriors made their way to Las Vegas. We had my crew in town the same time, not coincidentally, and we took lots of fun, cool video that I'm excited to share with you guys later on this week. Not sure when that will come out, but we have some cool stuff to show you guys what we did this weekend, and it was pretty awesome. I think you guys will like it. Maybe be a tinge of jealousy, but you'll like it. And there'll be plenty of opportunities for those of you that did not make it to Las Vegas. We'll do cool things in the future. This is not the last of the cool things that we've ever done. But it was great. We went to, amongst other things, we went to UFC 167 on Saturday, which was crazy. We had great seats. It was an awesome time. I thankfully avoided my biggest loss ever in sports betting by having George St. Pierre win, which, by the way, I wasn't that upset about. And I watched it relatively unbiased without commentary from my seat. And I thought GSP won 1, 3, and 5. So I didn't really think it was that controversial. I wouldn't have been upset if Hendricks had somehow won, but I would have been slightly upset. But I wouldn't have thought it was crazy. But for people to be calling it like the worst decision in history, that's a little silly. Have you watched MMA? Like, there's so many bad decisions. This was at least pretty close. But yeah, so I managed to not lose that much. It was only a like mediumly losing day instead of being an atrociously losing day, thanks to Chael just deciding not to do anything. If I had known that Chael was gonna just do nothing, I would never have bet on Chael. But so this guy called on the flop, and I'm gonna give him the business here. Gonna give him the old 1-2 Teddy here. If he decides to stick around, I'm fine with him sticking around, but I'm definitely not in a checking mood right now. Let's bet, shall we? Bet, and bet. I don't particularly think this player is folding a 10, definitely not a 9, probably not an 8, but maybe he'll fold a 5. That would be cool. Can fold lots of like random hands that had hearts in them, straight draws, things like that. Interesting raise decision. What do you have? You have a full house somehow? Just decide to call on turn with a full house, a 2 pair? I really doubt it. I'm all in. I just don't really believe this. I just didn't think that made any sense. What kind of story are you trying to tell me, kid? I just, oh, where's the sheriff badge? Oh, it's out of Tyrant's hands. It's not there. But it must be pinned to the jacket I'm wearing, I guess. It's like an invisible sheriff badge. it just didn't make any sense. What's the story you're trying to tell me, kid? You telling me you're calling flop, calling turn, raising river? I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Anyway, now that we've set the tone right, no bluffing us, kids. No bluffing us. Come on. Let's play nice now. Made it to pair status, which is much better than we did last hand. And I'll begin this hand with a bet. Also got ourselves the old gut shot just in case. All right, 2 pair. That's pretty awesome. I believe we're going to bet here twice. Probably in the range of like 100, something like that. Maybe like 90. We could check back. I guess that would be reasonable. Actually, I think I might actually check back here. I don't think this guy is the type that's going to like check call with much worse on the turn. So I thought if we checked back, there would be... I think now is a good time to bet, by the way, for value. He can call with 5s, 4s. That's pretty much all he can call with. But we can have random bluff, stuff that just bluffed on the flop, stopped bluffing, and now is trying to bluff. If he check raises, I'll probably end up just folding. It's much more reasonable that he could have a 7 and decide to check raise, or he could have 2 pair and play it this way. But looks like we managed to get it done, probably with the best hand. Actually, for certain, the best hand. If we didn't have the best hand, I would be relatively shocked. So yeah, I managed to not lose more money than I had ever lost before in a single night of sports betting in front of the run-it-up Warriors. I managed to avoid that thanks to George St. Pierre and only lose a moderate amount of money. It wasn't too bad. It's nothing. I've certainly lost more money than that before, and I'm sure I'll lose more money than that in the future. But it was a great time. I can't wait to share the videos with you guys. It's going to be pretty awesome. And there will be more in the future of all that. I got on the day that, or is it the day after? Yeah, the Friday that the Warriors arrived, I got a PS4, which I played a little bit today, a little bit yesterday. Didn't, there's not really a game out for PS4 that's like a must-have. Everything seems like ports from PS3 and, Xbox 360. I've been playing like Ghosts. It seems fine. And I also, that's all I've played, I think, so far, actually, is just Ghost. Seems fine, but it seems very similar to every other Call of Duty I've ever played. To be honest, it's like, okay, you know what you're getting into. There's not much in the way of surprises there, I suppose. And also, how bad is The Walking Dead these days? I'm not going to say anything spoiler-wise. I guess that kind of is slightly spoilerific, but it doesn't really necessarily... People seem to love it. The ratings are just great. I'm just a little annoyed by some of the decisions people seem to make. Just drives me crazy. We were talking about the other, like a week ago, probably last Monday, right after I watched The Walking Dead, and was like, what am I doing with my life? This is the only show that I like really try to like watch every week. It's losing me. It's losing its grip, I just feel bad for it. I want it to be good so badly. I want it to be good. But it's just not. It's just not. By the way, I guess I could have tried to bluff at some point in this hand, but instead I decided to say I'm checking it down now. I guess that's fair enough. We were drawing dead from the flop on, so I guess there's that. Let's see if our well-endowed nurse decides to post. Yes, she does. Thank you. Thanks for posting, well-endowed nurse. Let's read a Dear J. Carver. I definitely feel like this is a Dear J. Carver reading episode. If there's ever been one. It's been kind of a busy week. You guys know how crazy last week was. This week should not nearly be as crazy as last week, but still some pretty cool things happening this week though, with obviously the Ultimate Poker's launch in Jersey, online poker launching in Jersey in 3 days. 3 days from now, something like that. So we've got that going on, which is pretty exciting, and it's like soft launch in 3 days, hard launch in 9 days, so everyone's running around like crazy for that. I might be doing some things too, but I'm not sure yet at this point what's going on, but should be a fun week, should be a good week of videos. I'm excited for this week. Should be a bunch of run-it-ups this week, I think. We have to do some healing. We have it down to 1470, which is very reasonable. We just lost 2 buy-ins at 1-2. But we've got some work to do now to heal it up, back to the old 2,000 mark that we were hoping to hit last week. All right, let's pull a Dear J. Carver. All right, top one, right off the pile. Right off the pile. You might have to wait while we play this hand. Oh, speaking of which, I almost forgot. While the Run-It-Up Warriors and I were walking from the arena back to the lobby of MGM, we were just walking, and next to us, I see, as we're walking, I see off to the side the one and only, with a vest and all, looking dapper as heck, Conor McGregor. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. No joke. So the two Run-Up Warriors and I are like, oh my God, look, it's Conor McGregor, man of the people, walking with the people's exit. And I, we were at one point we were like next to each other, and I was like, hey, they don't give you a better exit than this? That was our exchange. And he laughed and said, I had some excuse about trying to leave early or something, which wasn't, I didn't really know what he said, to be honest. But he said some words to me. That's pretty cool. And if he had given me like another 30 seconds of his time, I would have explained to him a little bit more of this story, but it wasn't the time or the place. But still pretty cool. Got to meet Conor McGregor, and that was pretty neat. Anyway, dear Jay Carver, I'm pretty sure we're gonna just fold now on the turn once the nurse decides to give us some treatment here. All right, I think that's just that. We could be folding the best hand, but at this point, maybe we should be calling. What is this? Raise, call, bet. I think we can call here twice, right? What do you have? You have two pair? I don't know about that. Queen of Clubs is a pretty scary river card, though. I would think it would be the kind of thing that our opponent would be kind of afraid of, but now she checks. We beat 5-7, Ace-3, Ace-5, 5-8. Don't know if he'll fold too many sixes to us. Actually, he should probably fold some sixes. Something like this, maybe. Like, I doubt this player has too many flushes, though she could have some flushes and then play this line this way and then just check raise all in, which would kind of suck for us. She could definitely have some flushes and do that, but I thought if we did this, there would be some chance that this player will fold a 6 or like pocket 5s, pocket 7s, maybe something like that. Don't think he's folding like if she happens to have a queen, don't think she's folding too much. Call can't be good for us. Yeah, that hand I was not expecting to fold. So that didn't work out for us, but I don't think our line is bad. Obviously, we could have just folded on turn and avoided that entire river decision, but I think once we get to the river, I think our plan makes sense. We could just check back, I guess, but I didn't really think he was that strong there, though I'm not like shocked to see that. But we'll probably reload after this hand. No reason really not to. I believe this guy just won the last pot. Probably not going to fold too much here. Better than us. Probably start here with a check. And call. Right? Sure. Let's check and call. Beat a lot of nonsense. King doesn't change too much, though we do beat less nonsense now. The king high nonsense now does beat us. If our opponent bets twice, we could be folding the best hand, but perhaps not. At this point, we have a decision between checking and betting. If we bet, does he fold better than us? Yeah, he probably folds better than us. If we check, we're not going to get worse. We're not going to, I don't think it makes much sense to check here and let him. Yeah, we're not winning this hand either. I think maybe that river bet was bad, but or at least our flop decision was fine. We could have checked on the river, I guess, and he bet we would have folded. I think both of those decisions are actually kind of similar. Both the ace-4 and our ace-5 decision, I think, we're both very similar, although our logic is a little bit different. I think they're both pretty similar. Anyway, dear Jay Carver writes Squirrel Nut. That's right. Dear Jay Carver, I have two questions for you. UFC, does Anderson Silva win his crown back in the rematch, or does Chris Weidman keep the title, and why? Well, I believe that Chris is probably going to get it done, to be honest. I think Chris is kind of like the exact type of person that you would build. If you were going to build a robot to beat Anderson Silva, you would build him in the form of Chris Weidman, right? Chris has great strike, or well, pretty good striking. At least like certainly good enough striking. He's, clearly, at least, don't be too results oriented. Obviously, everyone in MMA seems very results oriented, but He has at least solid enough striking. He's definitely got good enough wrestling. We didn't even really see a lot of it, but I believe if he wanted to out-wrestle Anderson, he probably could. His jiu-jitsu is certainly fine. It's at least not a leak of his, and might even be like a slight. I mean, it's probably one of those things where I've always felt like jiu-jitsu when it comes to MMA is like kind of like you must be this tall to ride the ride type of thing, like for roller coasters and stuff like that. And once you're like this good at jiu-jitsu, it doesn't really matter. You're probably not going to get submitted unless something weird happens. It reduces your chance of being submitted to being very low. And I feel that way about Chris. Like for Anderson to submit Chris, he would have to be in a position where he would have lost to strikes or something anyway. Probably. So I think that all right, respectful. Queen 3? No thank you. Right out of here you go. Right back to sender. So I think Chris is probably a pretty solid favorite to win. Do I think Anderson is drawing dead? Definitely not. And it's going to be a pretty sick fight, I think. But I don't believe that Anderson's going to get it done. I wouldn't hate it. I'm a huge Anderson Silva fan. I mean, come on. I have a picture of the man on my wall. That's pretty strong. But, I don't think that he's going to be able to win against Chris that often. I think he wins like 35. But maybe he wins like 40% of the time. I'm not really sure. I don't really know. It's going to be a great fight. I'm really excited, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to bet or not. Last time I did bet Chris, but I don't believe I bet that much. Certainly not enough to really care. I think we're going to just check back here. I don't think this guy is going to fold anything he calls with on the flop at this point. I mean, even if he has like ace high, I don't think he folds. At this point, if our opponent bets, are we calling? I think we probably are. I mean, we lose to like pocket fives, pocket sixes. We have a 7. Doubt he has much better than that. We're going to chop here pretty often, calling 5 to win 50. I think we win here, calling 50 to win 100. I think we win this, or we chop this often enough. We definitely lose to some things, but I just don't think we lose often enough. I think we're chopping there way more often than any other result. All right, and you offered me a poker question, and I'll answer your poker question because it came bundled, so I'll do bundle questions. That seems fine. Why does it seem like I do worse at lower stakes? The higher stakes, the better the competition, I would think. However, since my bankroll has me playing in the micro stakes, it seems I do substantially better in 50-cent big blind no-limit games than 10-cent or 25-cent no-limit games. Well, it might be partially due to your like attitude, perspective. Is that going to be a thing? Are you like getting all like you're putting your seatbelt on, drinking your water, all that other stuff before you play the bigger stakes, and then you're just like b-gaming the smaller stakes? Are you playing more tables? I mean, I'll be your like poker doctor for a second, and that's what that is, right? That's the stethoscope. That's right. Thank you. That's right. Thank you for the assist. So I don't really know. It depends on, what are you doing? You got to analyze yourself a little bit, kid. I can't help you, squirrel nut. I don't know enough about your business to know what your problem is. Looks like this game might break, which would be sad because I'd like to not have that happen. So I don't really know. I mean, maybe you're playing better. Maybe you're more focused. Maybe you're putting your A game in. Maybe it's just sample size. Maybe it's just in your head. You just feel like your results are better when you're playing higher stakes, which is possible. If you don't play enough hands to know, then that could definitely be a thing. You might just not be able. You might just not have played enough hands yet to really see the sample size. That's my guess. So thanks for your question, squirrel nut. All right. All right. All right. Dear Jay Carver, as I am both not a resident of New Jersey and of the age of 21, I thought, why not write a question as I sit here in Australia, drinking some water and reading any book I can get my hands on and such. I like your thought process, sir. My question is, who would you back? Oh, another UFC question. I didn't even pick that up because of that. My question is, who would you back in a pound for pound fight between GSP and Anderson Silva, which may actually come one day if GSP moves up, but still very, very unlikely. It's even more unlikely as of today because you wrote me this question before the weekend. Hope this question brings on a bit of a heater all the way from Australia. Brad. I might be visiting Australia very soon, sooner than any other place besides America. Stay tuned for that. Could happen. So your question is, Anderson or George St. Pierre? These days, I don't think anyone would pick George St. Pierre. He's not been, 5 years ago, yeah, sure, GSP wrestled, for sure. I would believe it. But these days, I don't think anyone would pick. I mean, I think most people, after GSP's last fight, I mean, GSP has taken like 470 significant strikes or something like that, I read, in his last 3 fights, which was like more than half. Or like he's taken 900 significant strikes lifetime, and he's taken 450 of them in the last 3 fights. Like he's taken so much more abuse lately than he's ever taken. I find it hard to imagine that Anderson Silva couldn't find a home for one of his strikes and knock GSP out, or at least put him in a lot of trouble over the course of 5 rounds. And I realize GSP's wrestling is good, but GSP being undersized against Anderson, I just think Anderson's going to be able to get it done and he'll put George in the cage, all right. He'll put George on the mat in the cage. That's what I think. I really don't think I like George's chances there anymore. But for years, I was looking forward to that fight because I was going to bet George and feel really good about it, thinking that George probably had the wrestling to take it down. To take it down. That's about right. But in the last few years, I think that opinion, the smart opinion, has changed towards being on Team Anderson. So I was planning on maybe check calling on turn, and here we are on the river. We beat Queen 10, which is kind of nice, but we don't beat too much else beyond that. For our opponent bets, we have a decision to make here. I would suspect that if our opponent had a jack on the turn, he would probably bet, and if our opponent has a 9 on the river, you wouldn't expect him to bet now. So we lose to like weird ace highs that think they're bluffing but actually have the best hand. We lose to like weird pairs that think they're bluffing but again have the best hand. But we beat like Queen 8, Queen 10. I don't think we beat too much. We could also check raise. That also could be reasonable. But I think I'm actually going to just call. I just kind of don't believe him here too much. Maybe this is too loose. I think it's actually fine though. I probably should have just check raised, actually. That might have been way too heroic on the river. I've definitely got my heroic shoes on, in case you guys didn't realize that. I've got my heroic pants on this video, and hasn't quite worked out too well for us. I should have just check raised that river, I think. I mean, obviously, we only really beat like Queen 10, Queen 8. I just didn't think that it made a ton of sense for him to have too many jacks, and also with the price that we're getting, like we're definitely going to lose a lot, but we had to call 85 to win 300, so I thought with the price that we had it was probably okay. But then I mean, we just lose to too many like random things that are just beating us. He just has like ace 3 and would fold to a check raise, but instead we call and lose. I think that was probably just bad. I like correctly identified, in my mind at least, I feel like I correctly identified that he was likely not that strong, but we just didn't attack it correctly. So I check raised here against a limp under the gun. Yeah, I should have just check raised that river. That was a little too silly, I think. So I check raised, and now here we are on the turn. I think I'm going to start with a check and make a decision. On a club river, I'm definitely going to bluff. Do I love it? No, but I think that this will work often enough. Don't believe, I mean, this is literally the nut low that we can ever show up with in this spot, and clubs certainly make sense. So we could have clubs. We have a draw. We have the other draw. I don't think he's gonna fold. Like if he has like a 7 or better, I'm not gonna be shocked to see him call. But I think there's a chance he folds like a 3, a deuce. This guy seems like he's got a super standard thought process, which could be good. I'm not saying it's bad. It just seems like he's got like a kind of unconventional thought process. So I feel better betting against that kind of person than I would against somebody else. So like I think that it's definitely possible we get called there and lose a good percentage of the time. But against everyone that at this table, I feel best about that bluff than anybody else. So let's talk about a buy-in. I think the $85 was kind of a giveaway there with the king queen on the river. I mean, it's not like a full giveaway, but it's probably a pretty solid loss there. I should have just check raised the end. The 5-4 hand I'm relatively fine with. Let's pull another question. All right. I will respond to your question privately. Dear J. Carver, our old friend Sam writes, Dear J. Carver, do you have any leaks? apparently calling on the river with king high is might be one of them. Dear J. Carver, do you have any leaks? If so, what are they, and how do you stop yourself from those leaks? Well, it's always a process, right? It's a process of trying to patch as many leaks as you care about. I mean, I'm sure in poker I've got plenty of leaks at this point in my life, but I think that could call or re-raise. I think either is fine, you know. I think calling is what we're going to do here, though. I like this hand, calling position. We let this guy in the pot, which seems good to me. And we just have the button. That seems fine. You know, I think you can look at it lots of ways. Look at it in terms of life leaks. You know, if you do things that generally reduce your life EV, that's obviously bad. I don't really have too many leaks like that, though. I don't think. I think most of my life leaks are. Well, that's a good question. Most of my life leaks. They're probably in like time management or like efficiencies, like the things that I focus on that I could probably delegate, or the things that I delegate that I probably should have focused on. Definitely in my past, I've made that mistake, and this is unfortunate because we're probably not winning this hand. Don't think it makes too much sense to bet on this turn here. I mean, there's not too many hands that would want to bet. I think most of the hands that we have here would like to check. If Will checks this river, we actually have a shot at winning, but I have a feeling that we probably are not. But I don't think that is a weird decision. I don't think there's any way we can win that pot on turn and river, and I think the flop call is close enough to fine. All right, let's pull one more question here. This was a weird video. We had the king queen hand is the only hand that I wasn't really thinking clearly on. Like, I don't think that made a lot of sense. But the rest, the other hand we lost. We bluffed a couple times against the 36 double D guy, and that didn't work out too well. But or girl, I should say. But dear J. Carver, what is your favorite drink? Love from Australia. I drink water, kid. I don't know what to tell you. May not be a kid. I don't know. I don't drink anything. I'm sorry. I'm very boring. I'm extremely boring. I don't have drinking leaks. That's for sure. All right. You didn't write Dear J. Carver, but okay. A writer here says, if you ever decide to put on pants and read some questions, please. Today is your lucky day. He says, choose mine. All right. I did. Don't let me down. A few episodes back, someone asked if fans could send in videos and have you commentate it. I know you said you were unsure about doing it because you didn't want to embarrass players, but I was wondering if I could send in my anonymous final tables and have you talk about the play. Maybe. Could do it. I haven't decided I really want to do that yet because that feels a lot more like work. The pace of those review videos always feels too worky for me. There are different videos have different feels. Like even this video is much more like grind poker type of talk than, you know, some of my more ideal videos in my mind. Ideal isn't the right word, but I think a lot the videos go a pretty wide spectrum. Like I think some videos are much more technical poker oriented, and some videos are much more just like clowning around, and some videos are more video blog. You know, I think it depends on my mood. If we're gonna do videos 5 days a week, they're gonna vary based on my energy level and based on what I've been doing, right? So I think I'm hesitant to commit to doing like, oh yes, every Tuesday we'll be doing a review, and then like Monday night I'm just like completely out of it, want to just do like a hangout with somebody or something, and then, you know, I think I'm up for it eventually, but I don't think I ever want to like schedule it or something like that. A lot of MMA questions, which I kind of like actually. I kind of enjoy them, but. Lots of questions. Dear J. Carver, ever thought of writing a book about your life so far? Big fan. Nope, I have not thought about that. That sounds like a lot of work. Also, it sounds like a it's not my format. Although I was a big fan of writing when I was younger, but I'm too much of like a neurotic writer to write things like that. I would be the type that I would like never just accept something being like second tier. I would always want to like rewrite, and I don't know. Like I feel like my best medium for storytelling is probably video. I feel most comfortable on video. I can get through it. I feel like I can express myself very well because you can't do this, you know? You can't do this in a book. And it feels very important to me that I can do this and make you guys understand, exactly what's going on. Without that, I don't know, I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's very hard to write hand gestures as I perform them. So maybe eventually, but will be quite some time, I think. King and queen. I feel like this is probably a fine enough hand to re-raise. I think that makes sense to me. 90 or 80, both is fine. I think 90 is probably a little bit better. Back over to Will. If he re-raises, we're just going to call. If he shoves, maybe we'll just fold. But this definitely getting called. Happily getting called. We could be beat, of course, but 100 to win 300. We definitely not going anywhere. Let's see a flop. Not exactly the flop we need to see with the old king and queen. Depending on what Will does, maybe if he had bet way less, we could have considered calling, but, probably just folding no matter what. This is like one of those flops where he could definitely have his beat and just have his drawing near dead, and I think we just fold in this one particular instance. I think our play is fine, though. It's just like one of those spots just happened not to work out for us. So we lost some money this time, but hey, at least it wasn't running up dollars. It's no big deal. Just more dear J. Carver money in the fireplace. No big deal. Whatever. So thanks so much for watching, as always, guys. Don't forget, subscribe. We do these things Monday through Friday. That's pretty sweet. So hang out here for more. We'll be back. It'll be a very wide range of videos this week. I've got some cool things in mind. Don't forget to leave me some comments in the comments below. That's what they're there for. So that's about it for me. Thanks so much for watching, as always, guys, and I will see you back for more tomorrow. Peace.